In this video section, we will demonstrate how to place electrical equipment with a view to having it appear on the final equipment schedule. We'll also demonstrate the couple of the features of some of the custom WETS electrical families that we've created. In order to get started, let's take a look at the most basic electrical family that we're going to be using throughout our project and probably through most projects. So that's the generic electrical enclosure. And notice there are two families that represent electrical enclosures. These are all our boxes, pull boxes, junction boxes, what have you. They are the E15 generic electrical enclosure, fixture category, face-based, and the generic electrical enclosure, fixture category, level-based. The face-based and level-based names here, they indicate what kind of elements within the model are going to be hosting our family. So if it's face-based, you can place it on any surface of any other model element, and if that model element moves, then the enclosure will move along with it. That may or may not be desirable if you place it on a wall and the architect or the civil structural engineer moves the wall, then your box will move with it, and any conduit that you have attached to that box may become disconnected. The other item that we can host equipment to is the level-based family. That means that for each level, floor plan level within the model, and we created a level in the last video, for each level that we have within the model, we can place the equipment on that level, and if the level moves, then that equipment will move. Levels don't move as much, so that may provide more stability, but it requires a little bit more work as we're placing items in the model. The face-based families can be a lot faster to place, but then you can pay for it later. So it's really a toss-up which you prefer. We will examine using both family types within this example, and you can choose which one you prefer. The important factor to note, however, in our electrical equipment schedule that we're using within WETS is that it doesn't matter which one you prefer. They both can show up on the equipment schedule. In fact, you can use several different families to represent one single line item on the equipment schedule, and we'll demonstrate how to do that as well. So let's start with the face-based family. Now we mentioned that this one can be problematic if you attach to a wall and the wall moves. So the best workaround for that is to make sure that you're placing your equipment on work surfaces, work reference planes. So we'll go ahead and we'll go over to Systems. We'll create a reference plane, and it's a good idea to synchronize with Central whenever you get that warning message. We will pick lines that we want to use for the basis of our reference planes. You can either draw reference planes or pick existing lines. We're going to pick the inside surfaces of these walls here. So we've got one there, and one there. And when you're done, just hit enter. Now we've got a work plane for each of these walls. That way, if the wall moves and our equipment is hosted to the work surface, the movement of the wall won't affect our equipment. Now, let's go through a demonstration to see how that works. Create a section. Over here in Properties, make sure that it's a working section, a working type. And we want one to face this wall. We'll bring the range in just to inside the wall, and we'll create another one that faces the opposite wall. Now about a third for the south doorway. Other way. You'll notice the direction from which you draw your crosshairs for your initial section view determine the direction that it's pointing. So let's go ahead and we will open this section view. Double click on the head. I notice the view range is a little skewed, probably not what we want, so we'll go ahead and edit that. Click here, go to edit crop. Remember, hover over the border tab to select the all connected items. Hit delete and then draw a new section, a new crop region rectangle. To increase the detail level and decrease the scale, make things a little more legible. Now we're looking at this wall here. If we tried to place our equipment now, it will probably try to attach directly to that wall. So what we want to do is hit WT to tile your windows. And in the plan view, go over here to Systems and then Set the Working Plane. And it'll ask you to pick which plane do you want to set as your work surface. So we will pick this one here. Then we'll ask you what view do you want to look in while you're working on this work plane. And we want to pick this view, which is section number 1. So now if we click in the section number 1 view and we ask it to show us the work plane, it shows us the work plane that we're working in. Everywhere that we want to place face-based or work plane hosted items, it will select this work plane as the host. So let's assume we want to add a NEMA 12 box. We'll call it 14 by 14 by 8 inches. Now if we look over here in our list of existing face-based families, we'll notice some NEMA 4 boxes, a NEMA 12 box down here, but this is more of a wireway, 8 by 36. So let's go ahead and we'll create a new one, and we'll make it a NEMA 12 box. So in order to do that, click on the NEMA 12 box, double click to open the properties window, and we're going to duplicate this type and use it to make a new one. So choose a name for the new type. It's going to be NEMA 12 14 by 8 inches. And just as a side note, let's break for a second and take a look at our standards for Revit. If you notice in our Galaxy folder, Galaxy Projects, Electrical Standards, Revit, under BIM Standards, we have the What's Electrical CAD BIM Management Plan. This contains all the standards that we should be following when using Revit, how to make our model unified so that it is consistent with the other projects. And if you'll notice here in section 5.11 under Families and Types, there's a naming convention for family types. Under section 5.11.2, it states that individual model elements should be modeled as family types. Each type shall have a descriptive name that indicates the value of unique properties to quickly and easily identify its intended purpose among a list of similar items. So it gives the example if we're making a single hinge screw clamp cover enclosure, then that should be basically the name of the type. So if we go back to our type here, we've given the size, but let's rename that to indicate that we're also going to have this one be a removable clamp cover. So just clamp cover. Instead of removable, let's make it a hinge clamp cover. So these are basically the uniquely identifiable items for this family type. It's a NEMA 12 enclosure. This is the size. These are the unique items that we would use to find this in a catalog. So that, given our name now, let's go ahead and change the settings to match. So the width was 14 inches, height already set to 14 inches, depth already set to 8 inches. This is the information that will show up in the equipment schedule. The model, manufacturer, description. This is the description in the equipment schedule, and also the part number is shown down here. These are the 4 parameters that are of note from this dialog screen that will show up on our final equipment schedule. We want to make sure, at least at this stage, that our description is accurate for what we've created here. So we notice that this, since we copied this over from an old one, this still has the NEMA 4 description, so let's change that. It's no longer a quarter turn latch. It's now a single hinge clamp, and the size is 14 inches. And of course this catalog information was from the old item, so that is not going to be accurate anymore. We'll delete it here, and we'll go ahead and re-enter it when we go to the equipment scheduling phase. Go ahead and hit OK. And now we have a NEMA 12 box of the correct size. Let's go ahead and put that in our model. And you notice you have two options here for face-based models. Either place them on face or place them on work plane. If you place them on face, it's going to choose, you notice the highlighted outline is the wall. This is where it's going to try to host that box. That may be fine. In this case, the wall is probably not going to move since this facility's already been constructed. However, if you're in early design, you can't say the same thing. To demonstrate, place that family, and then notice what happens if I move the corresponding wall in the architectural model. Our box tried to move along with it, and it gives us a lot of errors. So in order to do that, we can instead, let's pick a new host, and we want to place it on the work plane. And notice now, if I try to place that box, it's this large work surface area that's highlighted. That's a lot more desirable for face-based items that are going to be on a wall, is to have them on a work plane. And you'll notice from just looking at it, I've tried to place it on this work plane, but looking in the plan view, it's actually on the other side of the work plane. So it'll fix that. Just click the item and then click the flip work plane button, and now it's facing into the room the right direction. Now let's go ahead and we will use the level base family to create another instance of the same piece of equipment. Let's say you have another engineer working on the model. They prefer to use the level base family, but they also want another NEMA 12 14 by 14 by 8 inch box to be in the other side of the room here. So we'll do that, and we'll demonstrate how both of these items can be used to represent the same line item on the equipment schedule. So in level base family, we look to see if there's a NEMA 12 box that will meet our needs. It's not there either, so we'll go ahead and duplicate the existing box that is of a similar size. Change the name so that represents the properties we have in mind. Go ahead and change the physical dimensions, remove the incorrect catalog information, and then change the description to be more accurate. And we'll leave the part number blank for now. Hit OK. Now, if we try to place this level-based model, notice it won't let us do it in the section view. Level-based models have to be placed in a plan view. You can push the space bar to rotate it along the axis of the view, and we'll just go ahead and align it to this wall. Now if you click on that item, it shows that the offset is 0 feet. So whenever you place a level-based item, you have to set the offset. This is a height above the level where it's going to appear. If we open the section view, we'll have to adjust the crop region for this one as well. Now that we're in the section view for this, that should hold this piece of equipment, we'll notice that it's right here at 0 inches off of the finished floor level. So in order to get it up to the right elevation, you can either go into a section view and move it manually, or you can just click on it in a plan view and set the correct elevation. We'll say we want it 4 feet above the ground. And if we look now in the section view, we should see it appear in the right location. Let's go ahead and we'll look at a couple of the other families that we have. One of the other important families that we use is the FD boxes, surface mounted receptacle boxes. Those are under electrical fixtures, and notice they come with a selection of hubs, either just a single hub, one top and one bottom hub like a pass-through box, or a 2-hub U box. Let's go ahead and pick the dead end 1 top hub box. Pick the one that has 3/4 inch hub. You can see this is the standard type of surface mounted FD box that you get for like a precast. That's usually in cast iron or aluminum that we use for our surface mounted work. And we'll go ahead and we'll make sure we place that one on a work plane and click it, and always take note in the corresponding plan view to verify that the item is facing the right direction. If it isn't, go ahead and flip it to the right work plane. Now the FD boxes on their own are not very useful, so we'll put a receptacle inside that box. And this is important because remember, this is a complete building model, so every item you want to show up on the equipment list that you intend for the contractor to purchase needs to come and be placed in the model. So we'll go ahead and we'll place a standard duplex receptacle in that box. And you notice that this is looking for a face to be hosted on. We don't want this one to be placed on the work plane. We want this one to be associated with the box itself. So place your crosshairs right in this area of the FD box to host the receptacle to the box. So just click, and now it's hosted to the box. If the box moves, the receptacle will move with it. And you can align it to make it appear. You can align it to display a little better by using the Align tool. Just select the item, you click the Align tool, select the bottom of the box and the bottom of the receptacle. Now they're aligned a little bit more neatly. And let's go ahead and turn off that. And we'll change this to an electrical view, which it is. The shaded view usually gives a little bit better results as far as viewing the items, making things a little bit clearer to see. But at any rate, let's go ahead and we'll create another one of these FD boxes. This time let's use the pass-through box. That's one with a 1 top and 1 bottom hub. And we will create it on the same work plane. You can tell that it's probably backwards, so flip that around, and we will put in this case, let's put a GFI receptacle in that one. Again, click in the white space area of the FD box to host it, and click the align tool to make it draw a little more properly. And let's finally pick one more FD box just for the sake of demonstration. This one will demonstrate what happens if you place it right on the wall. The alignment will show up correctly. Let's rotate it around so it'll be down here. And on this one, let's go ahead and place a simplex receptacle. It's a single outlet receptacle. Place that one on the FD box. And the reason that we have the different receptacle families is, you'll notice in the plan view, when you have the view set to course level, it shows the receptacles in their schematic format. So the duplex receptacle has two receptacle lines. The simplex has a single receptacle line. The GFI has the GFI notation. This allows you to make a schematic plan view for like a receptacle plan using elements that are directly within the model. We'll get to that at another point in the demonstration series. Let's take a look at placing also. If we switch to this section view, we're going to place a multi-gang box and some switches, just to demonstrate how those work. Again, we need to adjust the crop region for this section view. And once we're in there, we can take a look and see. Let's limit the view so we're not looking outside the room, we're just looking inside the room. We're going to place our multi-gang receptacle box. If we go here to, it's not in the model yet, so let's go ahead and load that one in. We'll insert a family. If we go here to the electrical families, closures and outlets, there is in the outlets folder, a multi-gang box. So let's go ahead, now we've loaded that one in, we will add the double gang box, and we'll place that one directly on a wall, because as I mentioned, this facility's already been built, so the walls aren't going to go anywhere. To add that to that, let's add a speed control switch for this this exhaust fan over here. So we'll select the dial switches, speed control switch again, host it to the outside face of the wall of the FD box, and then let's also include the motor disconnect switch for that fan. We'll put that here. You notice that this is just a blank box, but if we switch to find view, detail level, you can then see the toggle switch on that disconnect. shaded sometimes gives you a little bit better view. Let's expand this one to a 3-gang box, and we'll add a lighting switch. So if you select properties, notice that we're at the double gang type. You can just expand to 3 gangs, and now we've got an extra gang spot. Let's go ahead and add one of the lighting switches. You know, here in the low voltage lighting switches, we've got 4 and 6 button Ethernet type Chelsea switches, so we'll add a 6 button. And let's see how that looks in our 3D view. Let's go ahead and orient this view to the existing plan view so that it's a little bit more usable. So we'll orient to our finished floor plan view. That will give this 3D view the same extent as this finished floor plan view. And if we select on an item, then you hold shift and the middle mouse button, then it will center on that item as you rotate around. And that looks pretty good. So we placed several different items. Let's take a moment to go through the scheduling process, and we'll see how these items get scheduled. There are 3 steps to the equipment schedule process. First step is data entry. This is where you would enter the catalog information for each item. You'll notice over here on the left side there's a scheduled equipment checkbox. If you clear that, this item will no longer appear on the final equipment schedule. This is useful if you're including test items or sample items, or you don't want all of your equipment or your conduit fittings to show up on the final equipment schedule. You would clear this box and it will not schedule those. One of the annoying elements, features of Revit 2015 is that if you change anything on the equipment schedule that actually changes a type definition, you'll get this dialog box pop up every time. We're working on getting rid of that, but at this point it's just something we have to deal with. But you'll notice that we have, let's see, to take a look at our 2 enclosures. Remember we said that they both need to be the same. We want them both to be the same line item, even though we use different families. Let's, in fact, we take a look at this. Then, if you notice, the name looks like it didn't get changed properly. So whenever you have an item that's questionable in your equipment schedule, you can always highlight it in the model and see which one it is. So this is the one on the left, on that east wall that we said was going to be a level-based family. It's supposed to be NEMA 12, just like the other one. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, so even though there's the problem. We didn't change the type that we used. So if we select this one, is still represented by a NEMA 4 box, but we can change that by simply selecting the NEMA 12 box that we had intended to use there. There we go. Now we have a NEMA 12 14 by 14 by 8 box. Let's go back to our equipment schedule. And we notice that we've got 2 items that they should represent the same thing, but for the final equipment schedule, everything you want to show up on the same line item needs to have the same description. So to correct that, we notice that we had 2 slightly different descriptions for the same item. once you enter description once, you can just use the pull down menu to copy it, and now we're going to have these two items both have the same description, and they can show up as the same item on the final schedule. If we didn't have that, you go back to the equipment schedule. Well, the equipment schedule is going to sort by part number. I should probably explain that first. But in the data entry field, in order to schedule this one, let's, as we said, put the descriptions, make those identical. It gives you that warning message. That catalog information is not correct. Hoffman, okay. And I'm just demonstrating that you need to enter the catalog, the data entry here. Again, you want these, all the items that you want to be the same line item need to have identical descriptions, catalog information. If you go here to the number entry view, this is where you're going to assign a part number for each item so that it will show up in the final equipment schedule. So let's, if you ever see a blank line in your number entry view, it means that you either have conflicting information in the data entry view, or that information, there are some items that have not had their information entered. So in this case, you've got two items with blank entries and three items with another set of blank entries. That means that these have some similar elements, but they are conflicting at some point. So you need to go back to the data entry view and correct all of that. So if we'll just enter that real quickly. We'll assume that we're looking through our equipment schedule here. We have our catalog in front of us, and we're going to enter correct catalog information for each one of these items. So give me a moment.